Hello everybody, Beard Reads Books here, and for today's video I'm going to be reviewing Metro 2033. I'm going to make just one attempt at pronouncing this name, and I'm probably going to do a bad job of it. Dmitry Glukhovsky. So like I said, that's the only attempt I'm going to make at pronouncing that name. Now, I bought this book about a month ago when I was holiday up in Liverpool on a slight whim. This is an English translation of a Russian book, and I'm a bit of a fan of the Night Watch books by Sergei Lukyanenko. Again, probably mispronounced that name. Again, English translations of Russian books, and like I said, I really enjoyed them. So I'm kind of a fan of English translations of Russian books, and when I saw this one, I thought, give it a bit of a go. I mean, obviously I'd read the blurb about what the storyline is, and it was something that kind of interested me anyway, so I thought, yeah, bought it on a bit of a whim. Now, the basic premise is, it's the year 2033, about 20 years after sort of a nuclear, I don't think it was I think it was some, it doesn't really say exactly what happened, but I think it was some kind of a nuclear war or nuclear catastrophe. Basically the planet's been pretty devastated in some kind of event, and in 2013, and as a result mankind's had to sort of go below ground. And now this is set on the Moscow metro, so basically the Moscow population has spent 20 years living in the metro system, and it's all about, well, it's the main, what's his name? Artyom. He's the main protagonist, and at the start of the book he's given a mission to do, and basically it follows him on his mission sort of through the metro system. I'm not going to say too much because I'm going to keep this spoiler free. So it's basically following him through on his sort of journey through the metro system, trying to accomplish his mission and all the rest. And obviously along the way he meets different people, and in some ways this was a very interesting story. I mean, one thing I did find was round about in the middle of the book, I personally found it dragged a little bit. I did find it a bit slow going, so other people might not find that, but yeah, for me personally, round about the middle it dragged a little bit. But it was quite interesting because there's this, it's a post-apocalyptic sort of future, and obviously sort of society as we know it has been completely destroyed. But with a lot of post-apocalyptic sort of stories that I read, films that I watch, society is right on the brink of, like, humanity, right on the brink of like becoming extinct, and they're barely surviving, they're sort of scratching out a living and that. But with this one it wasn't quite that bad. The people living in the metro system, they had some element of stability going on. I mean, okay, yeah, society was still very much on the edge of, but even so, there was a semblance of society going on. I mean, there was sort of different factions that had, like, society had sort of formed itself into, well, not factions, that's probably the wrong word, but there was like elements of society sort of congregating around certain parts of the metro. I mean, there was one part of the metro where sort of the fascist element of Russian society had congregated, and there was sort of a section of the metro where there was more like a commercial sort of element. So I suppose like the corporate people, business people, they'd congregated around that and like doing their businesses and like operating the businesses of society. And there was another section of the metro where sort of it was more it was called the Red Line, and it was sort of more a Stalinist element of society had sort of congregated. And I mean, there was various independent stations that sort of had loose alliances with each other, sort of helping each other out and that. So it, like I say, it was a semblance of stability going on. So I mean, that I find that quite interesting for a post-apocalyptic story. Like I said, a lot of the books and films that I've seen, society, like humanity, is on the brink of like extinction and that, and barely surviving, whereas this one slightly different, you know. So, and I did find it quite interesting to sort of see how sort of society had formed itself whilst after 20 years of living in a metro system, you know, to see how that panned out. So I mean, that it had an intellectual impact on me, that, but it didn't really impact me on an emotional level. And the reason I say that is this: I don't really know much about Russian society, and I know nothing about the Moscow metro system, so it was just sort of reading about sort of these different sections of the metro where certain sections of society had formed. It was just, in a sense, it was just like reading, I was just reading metro names, like station names, and it's just, yeah, sort of no real emotional impact. But it would have had an emotional impact if the story had been set in, say, London, on the London Underground, because I know the London Underground, and if I'd been reading a story set on the London Underground and seeing how like the population of London had sort of formed themselves on the underground after 20 years of living there, and to sort of see aspects of British society congregating itself in different parts of the London Underground, yeah, that would have had an emotional impact on me as well as an intellectual impact, if all that makes sense. But no, it was definitely very interesting to sort of just see how it all panned out. So yeah, that definitely gripped me a bit. And yeah, it was very, very interesting to sort of see Artyom's sort of journey sort of through the underground, the challenges he met, the people he met, even though it dragged a little bit for me personally round about the middle of the book. And yeah, the ending. Now, the ending, there was an element of a cliche to the ending, but it was a very good ending despite that. You know, it was, even though it was cliched, it was definitely thought-provoking. So the cliche element was very, very small, very minor, not overdone. So that was quite nice. And yeah, I'm not saying what the ending is. I'm really keeping it spoiler-free as best I can. So definitely very, very good ending. So I would, yeah, I'd probably give this, I don't normally do ratings out of 10. Actually, I've never done that in any of my videos so far, I don't think, but I'd give it probably a 7 out of 10. I think the reason I wouldn't give it much higher is because, like I said, for me personally, it dragged in the middle a little bit. Now, there is a couple of sequels, Metro 2034 and Metro 2035, so definitely going to give the next one a try and see how I get on with that one. And this book has also inspired sort of various video games. So if you're into like gaming and all the rest, there was a game kind of based on this book. So I mean, I'm not really a gamer myself, so you know, I mean, well, the last games console I had was a SNES, so that just goes to show how much of a gamer I'm not, you know. So And another thing that interested me was apparently there's going to be a film coming out based on this book. Did read it's coming out probably 2024, so I'm going to keep my eyes open for that. So yeah, because I mean the Night Watch books that Sergei Lukyanenko wrote, there was films done on that, and I found with those ones the books much better than the films. Yeah, so the films I didn't rate highly at all. They're a bit naff compared to the books. So I hope with this one, I hope the film adaptation is, they do a much better job of keeping it sort of true to the book than what they did with the Night Watch. So yeah, so I'm going to keep my eyes peeled on that. But I mean, I would, yeah, definitely recommend this book. Like I said, I know I've already said it a couple of times already, but yeah, drags in the middle, so be a bit prepared for the fact you might find it a bit duff in the middle, bit dragging. But yeah, good book. Glad I bought it. Well guys, hope you've enjoyed this little review. Look forward to seeing you in the next video, whenever that is. Hopefully not too long. And in the meantime guys, stay safe.